welcome back to Live in 5, episode number 11. That is a pair of aces, folks. 1-1. Boys, how we doing? What's going on? Brought to you always by Butter Golf and Mini Movers, of course, presented by 10K Takes. But we are back, life on the road over here for 93.1. Yours truly, Jay Swish, Ozzo, Mace. Fellas, it is Tuesday night. How the hell we doing? Ozzo, I'll send it over to you, baby.
Yeah, we're doing well. I'm definitely jealous of you being in Hermosa. Obviously, we had our buddies living there a few summers ago. Got to spend some time there. I think you spent the full summer with them there, which it's a paradise there. Anytime I hear someone is there, I just get jealous because it's unbelievable. But yeah, doing well. Had a good weekend. Didn't do too much. Hung out with some friends Saturday. They've got kids now, so kind of in that part of life, I guess. But then went to the Vikings game and got to watch Dobbsy in person, boots on the ground. The boys take down the Saints. Who dat? Who dat? Fuck you, Saints. You came into town. You guys stunk it up. Dobbsy took you to the woodshed. But yeah, no, it was great too. Every time I get back to the bank, it kind of just reminds me like, fuck, that's why I like this team. I like this organization, man. I like these Vikings. I like these players. I like these colors. I love this stadium. And I'm completely ready for them to break my heart again. So that's where I'm at with this weekend. Mace, what'd you get up to?
I had a pretty good weekend. Started off on Friday, worked a little late, and then got off work and went right to a wedding. Had about 16 to 35 beers, and then called it a night there. Saturday just had the boys over, and then Sunday watched football all day, and then played some beer league at night. So pretty relaxing weekend, but it was good.
16 to 35. I mean, you got to tip your cap to that type of effort. Where was that wedding at, Maze? Was it in the cities, or did you have to venture somewhere for that?
Yeah, that was down at Lost Spur in Eagan, Minnesota. It's a nice golf track right south of the river there, and great country club. They had a live band there. It was a great place. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a nice little shift. And Ozzo, just going back to you, being in Hermosa right now, man, that summer of 2018, like I'm going down the Strand, which is obviously the pathway right along the beach there. And I'm just like head bobbing, just smiling, thinking like three assholes, me and the Cowboys, Paul Ledoux and Keaton Thompson. We actually lived here for a summer and it didn't even seem like real life. I mean, you came out to visit us a couple of times, but it was like workouts at 7 in the morning, which were actually fucking hard. This guy, shout out to Chad from Back to Function. And me and Tom were working out with him, and Dewey was working out with like Forbes and all the Kings guys. But they had hooked us up with this guy to, crush some workouts. There were some other pro guys working out there. It was like Luch, Dustin Brown,
Joro,
and a couple other guys. Yeah, go ahead.
is that the guy that's on Instagram that you guys kind of send in? Like, look what he's doing this morning. Is that guy, or who is that? You know what I'm talking about? You send those
Oh
Instagram
yeah,
videos of this
yeah.
trainer
That's
in. Is that him?
Yes, that's him. Like, dude, I mean, these workouts were insane. Like, we'd show up hung on a Monday. We'd be working out at 7 a.m. We'd be like, all right, boys, meet at the track. And every day you didn't really know what you're going to do, whether you're going to do like some sort of cardio workout or he's going to bag you in the gym. It just kind of depended on the week. So, some of these Mondays we'd show up and he'd be like, all right, turf day. I'd be like, okay, like, his turf workouts are 2 hours long. You're probably going to burn anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 calories. I mean, there was the hardest shit I've ever done, but a couple of these Mondays we'd show up, like, especially after the 4th of July. And I think he just wanted just to be just a fucking asshole. And he would make us do like a 2 mile run and he'd be like, under 12 minutes. I'm like, dude, I don't even know if I can run 1 mile under 6 minutes, let alone double that for two. I didn't, me and Tomer would come back from these workouts. We'd be so pissed off. And, we'd end up either just, thinking about boozing at like 9 in the morning, or we'd just go right down to the beach and start playing beach tennis. But there was no bad days here, man. Those workouts, they prepped us for the season. And I just remember how pissed off we'd be. And Dewey would come back, from his workouts with the Kings, which are standard hockey workouts, right? You kind of elevate as the season or the summer progresses. Like June's, just kind of not
Yeah.
very cardio based. July ramps up a little
Right.
bit. And then August, you're skating a lot and, you're doing some sort of bags, but you're kind of just in that protocol of really building up to training camp. And this guy was the total opposite. I mean, he was testing our chin every single day. And man, there was moments I wanted to fight this guy, but he was such an
Yeah.
ox. He would have fucking tapped me out within about 3 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just funny thinking back on to all those times how mad we would get. But yeah, I mean, this place is unbelievable. If you could afford to live here, a shack that's basically a glorified porta potty is probably going for about 5 bananas all in MSRP. If you could afford to live out here, I mean, I don't even think you need a car, Ozzy, because you could just stay in the South Bay. You could go to the bars around here. They have unbelievable restaurants, and you could just be on the beach every day. Because, as you know, these beaches, I think, are the best in the U.S.
Oh yeah. I think so for sure. And just the vibe of that beach too. It's so much different than being in Florida or anywhere else, even in the Gulf where, those Gulf beaches are unbelievable. It's like white sand, but they still don't really come to that vibe of the LA beaches like the Hermosa in Manhattan. It's an unbelievable life. And yeah, like, can you imagine if you have a work from home job? Like, you're just living in Hermosa, like, you're on the beach every day. I don't even know how you work if you live there. Like, I don't know how people go through their normal day. Like, it's such a fairy tale land. That's why I was always laughing at you guys training there. It's like you're training for hockey, living in this fucking paradise. Like, how are you even thinking about hockey right now? That sounds insane.
That's what I was thinking. Like I was just giggling to myself. I mean, I saw these guys, on a Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the morning, and they're already playing 2-on-2 volleyball. I mean, how do you even have a real job? Whether they're visiting here, they live here, they're probably locals. And how do you work the system to the point where you can get up, you can whack the 3 foot bong, maybe poke the oney, and you start having the white claws, you're drinking the high noons. I mean, these guys had beers on the beach. It's a Tuesday. It's like, if these guys are actually living here, what kind of protocol and regiment are they on work wise? Because I got to get on that. And what am I doing wrong? Because it's unbelievable. But, anyways, boys, just kind of moving on to my weekend. I was just laying low. Thursday night, I think it was our glorified Super Bowl for Hockey Night in Scottsdale. Me and the Heat Daddy, shout out to the Heat Daddy, had Biz Nasty on. Biz was kind enough to stop by and pop on our live stream show we do every week from my couch. Biz had a 3-and-3, so he did 2 nights in Atlanta with TNT, and then the third night actually flew in that day, recorded a pod, then came over, sat on the couch, and we did our live stream. I mean, that guy's work ethic is insane. I mean, it's there's no reason. I mean, there's a reason why he is, who he is, and he's
Yeah.
probably the most powerful guy in hockey in terms of media. I mean, everybody knows who this fucking guy is. Like, I think just his reach and his pull alone. I mean, we had somewhere between 65 and 70,000 viewers just for the show, and that 68,000 of them are probably coming to see Biz. But yeah, so I just wanted to give a shout out to Biz for that. That was awesome. We're doing another show Thursday for Hockey Night, but it was great to have him in there. I think went pretty well, all things considered. But after that, boys, I mean, obviously, you're riding a high after that. You did pretty well. Heat Daddy was drinking Belfour whiskey on my couch, so he was, half cocked, even walking out of that, mid third period. And then, he wants to ride out the buzz. So what do? Well, we slide over to a spot called Evo, which is just right across the street, little Italian place, late night pizzas, and we got on the red wine there, and fuck, man, the red wine. The
Love
next
that.
day you wake up, oh my god, you wake up though, fella, you're reaching. You don't need the Advil, the Tylenol. It ain't gonna do it. You might need a Percocet, even though you don't might not have a guy. You need something because that headache, man, it hits you straight across the face. It's that and whiskey for me is just if I drink too much of it, which I do every time, it's always just brutal.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, it's terrible. Like, Mace, I don't know how much experience you have with the red wine, but I have quite a few instances and hangovers from the red wine, and it's definitely my favorite drunk or buzz that you get from it. It's unbelievable. You can have the best conversations. You might get in that fight with someone. You might fall in love. It's the best buzz you can get from alcohol. But then you do pay for it the next day. It's absolutely insane how bad your head hurts. It's got to be all those grapes and that sugar just hitting you at one time the next day, and it's just like, holy fuck, that was the dumbest decision I could have ever made. Stomach hurts, everything hurts. You end up telling yourself you're probably not drinking ever again. Then you have one, and then you get drunk like 3 days later, pretty. But that's just how bad those hangovers are.
You always get drunk like 2 days later. But boys, moving along from the weekends, it sounded like it was solid. I kind of wanted to get into a little bit of golf talk, just in terms of what the news was this past week, actually the last couple of days. Rory McIlroy, finally speaking out in terms of what exactly happened during the Ryder Cup. If the folks remember, that was back in September. We actually had John Cook, aka Cookie Fella, come on the show, former 44-year professional, played in the 93 Ryder Cup. Anyways, do you guys remember when Rory got in that feud with Patrick Cantley's caddy, Joe LaCava, and he was kind of motherfucking him on the green? They got into a little bit of a argument, and that kind of bled over to after the round when actually the Americans ended up coming back and Cantley holding a couple putts. But that, it transpired over into the parking lot where McIlroy was actually like, motherfucking, I believe it was Jim Bones Mackay and that LaCava, and Mackay Bonesy's wife was in the mix, and I think it was Shane Lowry had to pull McIlroy off him and kind of get him back into the black car there. It's just McIlroy basically came out and said, emotions are running high. I think even Tiger had to call Rory because he's good friends with Joe. He used to be on Tiger's bag, LaCava, back in
Yeah.
the day, and just to smooth things over or whatever. But did you catch that? I thought that was just so funny. Like, number one, I mean, I guess it's golf and it's classy sport by nature, and you probably should apologize. But again, at the same time, I think like the bad blood, like I don't think you need to come out and publicly say anything. I know Rory's a classy guy, but like I just love that fire from both sides. Even LaCava being the caddy, like getting in the mix with a player, that's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, when it was going on, it was ridiculous. I remember seeing it. Um, and no one knew whose side to take, because you don't know if Lakava's in the right, but he kind of was like standing in front of Rory's line, and that I think that was what had pissed him off. And then they were taking the hat off and waving it around because Cantlay wasn't wearing it because I thought he, was what was he doing? He was mad that he wasn't getting paid to play in the
Yep.
Ryder Cup. Apparently, we don't even know if that's true, I guess. But did you see Rory's comments? He just came out and talked about his thoughts on it, and he's like, yeah, LaCava a really nice guy when he was playing with, when he was on the bag for Tiger, but now he's with that dickhead or asshole or whatever, talking about Cantlay, and then he's talking about Patrick Cantlay. He's like, yeah, we just don't see eye to eye on numerous things, and we just have different personalities. Like, we live life differently. So, I'd be interested to see a little more on that to why Rory and Patrick Cantlay don't like each other. I guess I've always thought, Rory was a likable guy by most guys. So Patrick Cantlay must be a little bit of a prick, a little bit, maybe a little bit of Patrick Reed in him. I don't know. Like something's got to be going on there because Rory doesn't really say that much about those guys too often. So I'd be interested to see what he has to say on that. I did see LaCava, went in and had drinks with Rory and all those European guys like Shane Lowry and those guys. He kind of like mended things back together, but Cantlay didn't go over there. Like Cantlay and Rory still haven't spoken, and like apparently these guys just do not like playing golf with each other.
100%. It was funny. Just the caddy player drama is hilarious because even in hockey, if you're related to the game of ice hockey, it was always funny in whatever level you were playing when there was like a coach on the other team chirping a player, and it just seemed like it was like that was just like offside. It's like you got to be able to separate church and state, but there was always those coaches, Ozzy, like that would be like motherfucking a
So
player.
weird.
You look over and like, Steve Ott, why are you chirping? You're a coach now. You can't be saying that. Like what are you doing?
Oh yeah, it's
It's like,
so
buddy, like
crazy when
you don't have the pads on anymore.
oh yeah, they think they do though. Like it's hilarious. I remember getting chirped by a coach. I think it was in pro actually, and I look back and I'm like, who the fuck on the bench is chirping me? And I look back and it's a goddamn coach. He's wearing a suit. I'm like, what the fuck do I say back to this guy? Like, the fuck are
Yeah,
you doing, buddy? Like, you're not even playing. Like, shut the fuck up.
that's
Grab your
yeah.
fucking clipboard, you fucking pussy.
I know. The funniest part about that video though too is like Rory's like Lord Farquaad. He's like 5'6", and he's chirping Bonesy. The wife's in the mix. Shane Lowry, the big barrel Irishman's got to pull him off him, get him in the black car, get him in the Denali XL or whatever it was. And LaCava's all hot and bothered. And then like Petty Cantley like is somehow like not even really in the mix because he's probably just such a pigeon. Like I haven't heard great things on him. He plays so goddamn slow. He's so
Yeah.
annoying to watch. It's like a slow
Yeah.
pitcher back in the day on the mound. I think he just thinks the whole show is about him when he's out there. And so that was funny. That's a funny feud. I think, the alpha always steps in, smooths things over. Tiger makes a few phone calls, and all of a sudden the boys are okay, right? So when you got, arguably the greatest athlete of all time in the mix, and just, hey, just settle down, boys. It's all good.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was funny. But kind of segueing into some hockey talk here, fellas, starting with college hockey. Big weekend for UND over in Duluth at Amsoil Arena, heading down Highway 2 straight east, going in to play the Dogs. Big weekend for the boys. Got a win on Friday. Got a win on Saturday. Did you catch any of those games, Azo? Did you see a little bit of it? I saw a little bit on Saturday night. I just saw the score, the box score on Friday, but from all
Yeah.
accounts, from what I read, it sounded like they played, pretty well and controlled most of, the six periods.
Yeah, I watched all six periods. Didn't miss one. That was good. I was excited for the Duluth series. I was excited to see Duluth because I didn't know what they're looking like this year. Um, and obviously that Duluth series for me personally, and I know a lot of other North Dakota fans. It's a big series for us. So yeah, I watched every period. It was eye opening to me. The first period of the weekend, UND looked like, I mean, it was going to be a blowout. It was bad. I was like, holy shit! I actually feel bad for Duluth here. Duluth, the rest of the series, kind of tightened up a little bit, played a little better, but this year for sure, right now at least, without any injuries, UND is by far a better team than Duluth. I think Duluth's going to have a tough year going 500. They're probably going to be land right around 500. It just didn't seem like they had much power to me, and there was no, they have that Steve's kid that's pretty good. I know that Cole Spicer's still a sophomore. He's pretty decent out there. I mean, they've got a bunch of guys who are decent, but they aren't to the level that North Dakota is, which was honestly fun to see as a North Dakota fan. If I'm a Bulldog fan, this year's over for me. I mean, there's no way they're gonna either win the NCHC or win the playoffs. So it's a tough year for them. But yeah, that's what I got from that series. North Dakota is for sure a great college hockey team. I mean, I've seen enough. Like these guys are deep up front. Their defensemen are doing their job. Their goaltender's unbelievable. It's going to be a fun year to watch for North Dakota fans.
Is that Spicy Tuna, Spicer? Is he from Grand Forks?
Yeah,
Yeah.
originally
Okay. What?
committed to he was committed to Nodak, but then
Okay.
Nodak
Did they
wanted
push
to
him
play
back
another
or
year
something?
juniors. Yeah, pushed him back,
Okay.
and he's like, "Nah, I'm going to college." So
Yeah. 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 No, I agree on that front, Azo. I think UND. I think they have really solid goaltending from what I've seen. They compete way harder than they did last year. I think guys are actually playing for each other. They have a little bit more meanness on the back end. I think that helps a lot. They're bigger and they got some pretty good talent. I don't think they have the likes of like a Nick Schmaltz or even a Drake Kajula's senior year or a Brock Besser, that type of line, but some of these guys are pretty good. I think Jackson Blake, obviously really good on the power play. There's Jaden Perron. He's going to even be better, going into the second half here. And you know what Gaber can do? He loves that toe in. He's going to pull it back all the way to the Great Plains of Manitoba, and then snapper top corner usually goes off the left side. From that right dot, it seems to be kind of his office over there, especially on the power play. And yeah, I like their makeup of their team. I think they're a solid team that can do some damage. So it's good to see the boys back. Happy for them, especially for Bubs and our boy Dane Jackson, the whiskey drinker. So, Jax, keep the fellas going there. But Azo, I don't know if you caught it. I was going to go to the game on Friday, but something came up. ASU, dude. They took the screws to Denver on Friday night. A big win in OT over at Mullet Arena, the iconic Mullet Arena, a spectacle somewhere under 5,000 people. But dude, that place looked like it was fucking buzzing.
it looked jammered.
Everyone, it was jammered. There was people up and about. That OT winner, everyone was jumping out of their feet. It looked like the student
Yeah,
section was actually rocking too. I saw a lot of blondes in there, good trim, but there even looked like there was like a decent amount of just hockey fans in general at that game. So
it
that was
did.
actually really cool to see. I hadn't seen Mullet Arena rocking like that for ASU in a long time. Normally they're playing teams at, Atlantic hockey.
Mm,
They haven't really drawn a whole lot of, top caliber teams in there, but they get a team like DU to come in there, and man, that was awesome to see because that's a little bit of
yeah,
foreshadowing for next year when they get into the NCHC.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't know, like, is it always like that? Do they get that good of fans for most of their games, or kind of just is that
No,
because Denver came to town?
yeah, I think the support would be there, especially with big time teams like, NCHC level teams, Hockey East. Their schedule has been pretty vanilla just because how, usually if they're playing a marquee team, they're going on
Yeah,
the road. So to get teams to come out of conference and play them down at Mullet, number one, coaches are probably scared, thinking like, Jesus Christ, if we don't charter a bird out of here on Saturday, the boys are
yeah,
going to El Jefe and they're getting banged up. So that's why they're staying out of it. Probably even thinking they're going to the pool party on Saturday before the game. So they haven't got a whole lot of perennial teams that come in there and play them. But Denver, obviously being what they are, I mean that's a
yeah.
big time get. And then leading into next year, them joining the NCHC, I think it's just a little bit of foreshadowing of what we're going to see because I think the college hockey market for ASU is a lot greater than what people think.
I think it is too. I think it's a real. I mean, they'll be a contender for sure. I'm not sure like year in year out, but they'll have some good teams. I can guarantee that, and they're going to be in a Frozen Four pretty soon. I don't know how many years or, but they'll be there. And yeah, I mean it's hilarious. You mentioned the coaches thing. When you're an away team traveling there, that's what I don't know if people think about that and they think about the college schedule. Like the coaches make this, they choose who they play, like when
Yeah.
North Dakota plays, Niagara, that's the coach of the team. That's Bubs or Hackstall, like calling Niagara and being like, "Hey, come to the Ralph and play us." Essentially, we want 2 wins to add to our record. I mean, you kind of do that stuff, and you do schedule the BUs. Like Bubs schedules BU, he goes to BU. That's a scary one because if you lose both those games, your season's in shambles. Um, so as coaches, you have that choice to choose where you're going to go on the road, and I can imagine right now it's pretty tough for a head coach in college hockey to be like, yeah, let's schedule ASU because you're right. Every coach is thinking that. Like every coach is like, okay, if we go to ASU and we ain't out of there on Saturday night, what are these guys doing after if we win? What are they doing on Friday if we win? I mean, you're thinking about it, and it's not like coaches care if their players booze. Like a lot of them probably, enjoy it if they're having a good time being smart, but it just adds another element to that coach like can't sleep at night like because he's like like someone might get in trouble tonight, you're just always thinking about that.
Oh
But it's
yeah.
yeah, I mean it's it's sick to see ASU get there. I mean, you knew they would. Who wouldn't want to play there? I guess if you're a good hockey player and you get called by Arizona State right now, why do you say no? I mean, obviously, you still got other schools to choose from, which might be more attractive, but that'd be tough to say no to ASU right now. If I'm a kid and I get a full ride offered and they're like, hey, look at this building we got, look at this team, we're in the NCHC. Fuck, I'm coming. Like, this is awesome. This is fucking Arizona. I'm golfing all fucking winter. You ain't doing that. You ain't doing that in Grand Forks. I'll tell you that much.
No doubt. And it's funny that you mentioned the teams coming in. What's this college? It's like Stony Brook or something. Do they have a Division 1 team now? These kids came
Yeah.
in a couple of weeks ago when me and the Heat Daddy went and took in the Arizona Coyotes versus Montreal on a Thursday. And these kids kind of came up to us and we're talking to the Heat Daddy and they mentioned whatever and got a picture with the Heat Daddy, the A-lister he is. But they're like, they didn't know if they were in the lineup the next night. I think there were a couple of kids that maybe, had not played a whole lot of games, maybe guys that were coming in and out and like, yeah, like we don't know if we want to go out tonight. I'm like, buddy, you don't you don't know if you're playing, which if you don't know you're playing, I mean, you roll the goddamn dice. Go out that night, see what happens. And if you lose, maybe you get inserted on Saturday night. But they had a red eye like right out of the Arizona right out of Phoenix on Saturday. Like the coach like gave them no time. Like I think their flight was at like 2 in the morning, and
Classic. Yeah.
they had like a room check at like 11 to make sure they were in. So they like were scared shitless. And as you are as a college kid, right? You're not gonna fuck that up, and your coach is essentially your dad at that point. But it was just funny how deer in the headlights there. I'm like, boys, like if you
Yeah.
don't think you're playing, and especially you're gonna get whacked like 8-1 in this game. I mean, your team's not any fucking good. You play for Stony Brook, whatever the hell that is. That's no offense, but Jesus Christ, the glorified D3
No,
team. I mean, go
yeah,
have a
I
few,
think
fellas. You're gonna remember.
it's it's Stonehill, but yeah, it is.
Yeah, Stonehill.
It's a
Okay,
It's a
Stony
D3
Brook.
it's a D3 team right now. It's a D3 team. I'm sorry, Stonehill, whoever's playing there. It's sick. You get to play
Okay,
D1 fucking schedule or whatever, but you're D3. I mean, you
yeah.
guys kind of suck. So
Stony Brook, Stonehill, whatever the fuck it is. They were, yeah, it was funny, man. There was those kids. I was like, dude, you're not gonna remember the time you stayed in when you're on ASU's campus and you played 4 minutes last night. Go out, have a time, see if you can get a little
yeah,
trim.
yeah.
Maybe you get lucky. I mean, these are the girls you're never gonna see again in your life, probably because you're upstate New York at Stony Brook. So, fella, go enjoy it. But wanted to give a shout out to this Macklin Celebrini kid, man. I mean, I know we touched on him a little bit last episode, but he is absolutely torching it. I mean, rightfully so, right? He's going to be probably the first overall pick in the 2024 draft. But in 9 games, Azo, as a 17-year-old, he has 18 points, leading the nation. I don't know. It just seems like these kids get better and better every year. And I know that's cliche to say, but I really think they do. I mean, at 17, when you come into school, he turned 17 in July. So he's fresh off being 17 and he's coming in
Yeah.
and he's the best player in college hockey. It's crazy to think that if he stays on this pace, he's going to win a Hobie Baker. He's going to be first overall, probably go play for the Man Jose Sharks if they're lucky enough to win the lottery. But it's just
Yeah.
crazy to me that a kid like that can do something in college because that's no easy feat. 2 points a
No,
game? How
no.
the hell are you?
I, that's insane. I mean, like, let's just think about Jordan. Let's just think about Nicky Schmaltz. Okay, we all know how good Nicky Schmaltz is. Look at Nicky Schmaltz's freshman year. He's not. He's still finding his feet. He's still getting there. He's still not there yet. And this kid's 17 years old. He's fucking there already, and it's insane. And you're right. I mean, you know, it is very cliche to say these kids keep getting better. They fucking do. I mean, there was no, I don't, we didn't see this when we were coming up. Like, I didn't see like some 17-year-old just lighting up college hockey. I mean, it just
No, I
didn't
want to
happen.
say also I wanted to say like who I wanted to ask you like who was the last kid that we really saw that was an underage player? I think it was Jack Eichel his freshman
Eichel.
year. But
Yeah.
he was a late birthday, right? So he turned
Oh, yeah.
18 in
He was already 18.
October and then got
Yeah.
drafted because he had that late birthday. But this kid is literally 17 years old. I mean, he's fresh off of 17. Like he should be in high school. It's
Yeah.
insane.
It's nuts. And yeah, I mean, okay, I'm going to go there. I saw I saw Wit say it on Spit and Chicklets, but I've been thinking the same thing. It used to be, it used to be kind of a battle, like, okay, which team's better? The best CHL team in the Canadian Hockey League, either the Ontario League, the OHL, or the Western, the WHL. Okay, you take the best team from that league and you take the best college team and you play each other. Oh, it's a pretty good series. I think nowadays, man, these college teams would absolutely annihilate these CHL teams. I mean, you wouldn't even be close. I'm more so comparing these CHL teams to the USHL nowadays. I mean, these college teams are fucking nasty. Like, you got the top 20 teams in college hockey, they are filth. Like, that's a tough hockey game to play any league. Like, these guys know how to play the game. They're older. Like you said, some of these guys have fucking world class skill. It's insane to watch, some of these power plays with some of these big time teams who have like 5 first rounders on it. I mean, it looks like you're watching the national. It's like, holy fuck, these guys are zipping it around right now. That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, crispy rice, spicy tuna. We talked about that last episode a little bit in terms of USHL is more so OHL now. College is really uplifted and taken it to that next level in terms of OHL, Ontario Hockey League, even CHL just as a whole, all those leagues, a Western League, Quebec League. I mean, they can't compete with what college and the product is and where it's at right now. I just think so many more US born kids, Americans, are staying in the states and playing college hockey because that's where you can develop, that's where you're going to have the most fun, and you can get to the NHL in 1 year. You can play 1 year after you're drafted, or maybe come in a little early and play whatever you want to do and use that year to really develop and actually have some fun doing it. So yeah, boys, I think that that kid, he's fun to watch. I caught a couple highlights this past weekend as well. Wisco was idle this week, but they moved to number one. So that is a roundup on our college hockey chop up. Little Benny Hanna fella, throw it on the teppanyaki grill and dice it up. So over to the National Hockey League. Well, boys, it was a whirlwind in Edmonton over in oil country. Jay Woodcroft, aka Jay Wrenchcroft, as I would call him. Pack your shit. You are no longer the coach. They bring in Chris Knobloch coming over from AHL Hartford. That is in the New York Rangers system. That's their farm team. But I mean, is this the move here, Ozzy? I mean, it's McDavid in his era and the McDusty era. It is his fifth coach. Jay Woodcroft, I mean, he leaves on, yes, bad terms, but how can you really fault the guy? His goaltending, his save percentage was 32nd in the league. Overall, Jay Woodcroft, aka Wrenchcroft, I mean, he had about a 650 winning percentage in his tenure at Edmonton, which only lasted about 2.5 years. It's just crazy to me that in this day and age, in pro sports and in hockey in general, if you're not doing it and what have you done for me lately, you're gone. And they don't care if you're committed to a contract of a couple years, 5 years, whatever it is. If you're not getting the job done, or they don't see you as the bench boss moving forward to right the ship, you're out. It's just, I mean, the
Get
turnover is
hired, get
insane, and
hired
I
to
don't
get
even think
fired.
it's. I mean, you're basically you just get hired and then you get fired about 2 years later, right? You can even get the 5 year
Yeah.
contract. It doesn't matter. We'll pay you to stay away and fuck off. But I don't know a whole lot about this new coach. I've heard good things in terms of guys that have played for him in Hartford. I asked around a little bit. Seems like a good dude. Rocks a solid comb over. Seems like a family man. He was crying at his first press conference. I don't like that. Don't show me you're a pussy. But anyways, he was thanking his wife. So how can you really fault them? But we'll see what happens. Ultimately, I think there's way bigger issues in Edmonton. I tweeted out last week. Starts with their goaltending. I don't think they have any good defensemen. Can two guys really carry a team? Honestly, there's just a lot of questions north of the border, and I just wanted your thoughts on it.
Yeah, that okay, so Wrenchcroft, Woody, he I've actually gotten to spend some time with him. He was the assistant coach with San Jose when I was in development camp there, so he'd run us through drills and do video with us. He's very, I don't know. He's kind of an entertaining guy. Like, he gets into it. His face kind of looks weird though. So like, you don't know if you can take him seriously because his face kind of like throws you off a little bit. But he's a serious guy, knows what he's talking about, and I mean, he got him further than any other coach has gotten him. Like, he got that team. I think it was last year. Like, they hadn't made it that far, and he got them there. And now after what? I mean, how many games he's just canned? It's like,
Yeah.
at what, like, is this doing anyone any good? Like, I don't know. I mean, I get that you have to do something because you got McDavid and Draisaitl and you're always hitting the panic button, but I don't think that's the answer at all. I don't, and you listen to McJesus do his interview and he's like, yeah, no, he never lost the room. He never lost the room, and it's like, well, if the coach didn't lose the room, like, there's much bigger problems. Like, I
Yeah,
don't
but
know. It's just a solution. Like, the GM just feels like he has to do something to save his job and like keep the fans happy. I don't know. I feel like that's a fan thing. Like, fans are just like, get him out of here, and they're like, fuck, we got to keep the fans happy.
yeah, I know it just seems weird to me though because Kenny Holland, this is his last year going to be the general manager of the Edmonton Oilers. So they're passing it over to Jeff Jackson. And who is Jeff Jackson? Well, that's Connor McDusty's old agent. So the whole press conference, the build up to it, it just seemed weird because after they fired Wrenchcroft, Woody, they have their press conference, obviously introducing their new head coach, and they spoke on it. And Kenny Holland was talking about how they spoke to some of the veterans on the team. They got, what their input or how they felt about the situation, and they wanted their thoughts on it. And they spin it over to Jeff Jackson immediately right after, and he's like, "No, we didn't consult with any of the players. This was a decision solely based on what I thought, what was best for the team. We didn't ask any of the players." It's like, buddy, Jeff Jackson, you are McDavid's old agent. You have the best player in the world. Of course, you asked him what you want to do. This
Yeah.
Knobloch guy, who'd he coach in junior? He coached McDavid. So, you know what I mean? Like, he was his coach in Erie. Who's the general manager? Well, it's McDavid's old agent. It's like, boys, the inmates are running the asylum clearly. I mean, what else do you have to do to try to keep this guy at Edmonton? I mean, fuck, I'd hand him the keys too, but why are you hiding it? And your general manager and your president are saying two different things. It's like, boys, maybe consult with each other before you get on stage and kind of say how
Yeah.
this played out. Like,
Why aren't they talking
maybe
with each other?
fabricate it a little bit. I mean, clearly,
Yeah.
Jeff Jackson, you asked Connor McDavid, who was a guy you represented from the time he was 13 years old, what he thought of Jay Woodcroft. And clearly, whatever
Yeah.
McDavid said and Leon Draisaitl said, that's what happened because after that game in San Jose, they lost. They knew they were firing him. I mean, he was fired before that Seattle game. Him and Dave Manson, they knew they were
Oh yeah.
hot in hot water. Like
Did you see him on the ice walking off? He's like, "That's it."
exactly. You saw their, if you could read their lips or people, Canadian media or whoever it was, the Twitter keyboard warriors. I mean, they found and dug up those clips, and I think what Woodcroft was saying, he was like, "That could be our last game, Mance."
Yeah.
And sure as shit, it was. They gassed them. Pack your shit the following day when they win in Seattle. But what do you do from here? I mean, so you have McDavid, you have his old agent now is going to be your GM, Kenny Holland. He's kind of riding off into the sunset. You have his old coach now. Like, who else are you going to bring in to try to save this? I mean, are you bringing in his side piece to be his secretary? Like, what else does this guy fucking need? Because clearly they're doing everything they possibly can to keep this guy, and rightfully so. But I don't know. It's interesting to me
Why does
how
it
this
have to
is
be
going
a
to go.
secret though?
I don't know.
Why
I mean,
did everyone everyone knows, yeah, we'd all do the same thing. We'd all get on our knees, open our mouths, unzip the pants, unbelt the belt, for Connor McDavid. Like you
yeah,
have to. He's the best hockey player maybe fucking ever to walk the earth. Like you don't know, we don't know yet. I mean, he's on his way, I think, but like yeah, you got to do whatever you got to do. Why are we keeping this a secret? Why are we acting like we didn't talk to McDavid? Maybe I mean, I'm guessing it's because McDavid's like don't let people know like I told
yeah,
them, but it's like we know you did,
I
so it's like
know.
I get that McDavid doesn't want Woody to think like I got you fired, but I don't know. I
Yeah, when
just
push
don't
comes
I don't know why
when
they're not on the same page though. How are those guys not on the same page during this? It doesn't make sense.
yeah, it just seemed they were so panicked. Well, Kenny Holland is just chilling. I mean, he's on the back nine. He's sitting on the 19th hole, looking at the 18th, waiting for his boys to finish up. He's like, "Fuck, I'm washing my hands clean here. I'm good. I have my mugs in Detroit. This is my last year. This ain't my fucking problem. Jeff Jackson, good luck, buddy. Hire whoever you want, and you'll deal with the repercussions." But it just, I don't know. We'll see where they go from here. I mean, gonna need goaltending. They're probably gonna need a trade. A defenseman, I'm not sure who they can go get. I know, our boy Binnington was in the rumor mill in terms of getting a goalie. I hope he doesn't go to Edmonton because holy fuck, the sun's setting at 3 o'clock, and I don't know. I just don't think you want to go into that shit storm. But at the same time, if they can retain Draisaitl, they can get that team going. Maybe that's a spot that they're
Is
only a
is
goal
that
away.
Soupy's is that Soupy's first year, the five by five?
Second year.
Second year?
Yeah,
Ooh.
second year of the 5x5 ticket. So he's down in the jungle. He didn't look perfect. His mind's swirling. He's coming out with quotes saying that, he was surprised by it. He thought he was finding his game, and then he gets kind of blindsided by a Bakersfield stint, and then he goes to his first game and he's letting in tricklers. So that seems to be like a mess. The last little closing piece on Wrenchcroft, though, I thought was hilarious, where that Mark Spector was interviewing him after or maybe it was after the San Jose game, but I think it was before the Seattle game where I think he kind of knew he was feeling a little bit of something, but Spector had he said he asked him some sort of question, and Wrenchcroft was like, "Yeah, I don't know, Spec. I don't read your stuff." Like, you know what I mean? It's just so funny. Like, just giving
Yeah.
it to the media guy, like anyone you can, just fucking throwing jabs because you're under the fire. So, but Ozzy, I wanted to ask you. So, hear me out here. I was scheming on this all day long, and I've been thinking about it for a couple days now. So, Leon Draisaitl has 1 year left on his deal after this year. So say he plays it out, he doesn't, he kind of holds. He's obviously not going to re-sign right now with the state of the team. Plays out the year, goes into the next year. He's got 1 year left on his deal, and say the same things are kind of happen. Maybe they don't make the playoffs this year, and he's going into the next season, and he's like, you know what, fuck, I think I might be walking. What do you think about this? Say Toronto can't re-sign Willie Styles. He prices himself out of there. It's kind of looking that way, especially if you want to keep Mitchie Marner, aka Mitchie Sheets. So say Willie Styles come July 1st here, signs with the Chicago Blackhawks. He joins Bedard. He gets somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 years, 11 million, maybe a little more. They have to overpay him to get him Chicago. He's looking at about $77 million
Why does
in his
Leon not
pocket.
go there?
Why doesn't Drysaitel
Is that
wait
where you're going? Yeah,
and
yeah.
sign with Chicago, and you rebuild with Bedard on an original 6 team? You're in a way better city, and you can give I mean, they're going to have the cap space. They could give Leon 13 or 14 a year on a 7-year deal, and all of a sudden you have those three playing together. I mean, if you're looking at it, why wouldn't you do that? I mean, are you kidding me? Those three together, and I know you leave McDusty high and dry, but it's like, fuck, that team's going to be like the same way they are. Go join Bedard, play with Willie Styles, and holy fuck, what a
Get
line
a,
that would be. That'd be
all new
unbelievable.
vibes. How nice would new vibes be for a guy like Leon or McDavid? Like
But
going to Chicago from Edmonton, you're joining Bedard. You're getting Willie Styles is there. I mean, imagine that. That would be so nails. And throwing on that Blackhawks sweater, it's got to be maybe
I
the
mean,
top
there's
sweater to throw on.
100%, and you're at the Madhouse on Madison. It's
Yeah.
rocking again. This Bedard guy has arguably more buzz than McDavid right now, especially in the States because he's playing in the American market. And I hate to say it, Ozzy, nobody knows who McDavid is outside of hockey in the U.S. I mean, they've heard of him.
No,
They've heard he plays for some Canadian team. They don't even know. The average
no.
hockey fan here, yeah, they know who he is because he's a big deal, but you never get to see him play. He's never on national television. If he is, it's at 10 p.m. at night on the East Coast. No one gets to watch this guy play. They never really make a run besides last year. It's like people are glued and gravitated to that Chicago Blackhawks logo, an original six team. He's all over ESPN. They're clearly pumping this guy to be the next poster boy. And I just think if you can get a guy like Willie Styles in the boy band, how does Leon Draisaitl not think, well, fuck, they got the cap space? That organization treats their team arguably top three in the league. They print it. It's a
Yeah.
great city. How do you not go there and be like, hey, McDusty fella, I'm sorry, buddy, but I'm leaving.
I'm going to join
I'm going to
Bedard.
Shot Town, fella. It's like Kanye homecoming. It's like
Yeah,
unbelievable.
it
But
would be so hard as a player, especially when you're making the amount of money they are making. You can live anywhere for, you live in luxury anywhere you go. So if you have, it'd just be so hard. You're in Edmonton and then you get this chance to play in Chicago or somewhere like that. Even, you think about playing for the fucking Rangers downtown New York City,
yeah,
and you're fucking playing at the Garden. Like that's a whole different ball game. They're playing in Edmonton, and if those guys do sign in Edmonton, like holy fuck, talk about passion, love for the game.
oh
Like
my
that's strictly
god,
love for the game, man. If you're staying in Edmonton over all these places, like Jesus.
dust off the parka and just lock yourself into 17 years in Edmonton. I mean, listen, no disrespect to Edmonton. I'm sure they got great people there. I spent a little bit of time there on the road, but there's better places to live. And if you can pick where you want to live, I think, you might be looking at a move. Unless, of course, they can win a mug here in the next 2 years, and then it kind of changes everything. But moving along to a little bit more hockey talk here, Azo, got to touch on the Carolina Hurricanes bringing back the Hartford Whaler sweaters, but most importantly, bringing back the Cooperalls. So for the folks that don't know what a Cooperall is, it's basically a glorified snow pant. And they are going to be wearing these in a game. It's like the full jumpsuit pant. It's like a sweat pant. You wear that instead of your breezers or your pants. I mean, and the sock combo. Dude, those things, like, I tweeted it out. Like, I want a pair of those just to wear them to the bar. I want to wear those, when I'm snapping it around in Vale on the mountain or in Big Sky. Like, those things look
Yeah.
so sick. They got the headband combo. I mean, it just screams "Love Me Sexy" by Jackie Moon. I want to do a little thing with you, baby. This is Flint, Michigan, and we are the tropics. Because those things look so nasty.
Oh, they're so sick. Are they actually those Cooperalls? That would be so nails if the whole league just went back to Cooperalls.
How
Like
sick are
just,
those?
just buzzing around, and it almost makes it look like you're playing an ODR game. You got the snow
Yes.
pants on. Like it is nails. It's unbelievable. Yeah, and like you said, I would love to get myself a pair of those. Just wear them just wear them to the bar. Like act like they're just normal pants. Be
So
unreal.
sick. I mean, just remember, like, even on the ODR, or I don't know, we used to do those sweatpants skates at UND sometimes, where you go out for like a morning skate in sweatpants. But I was a guy, Ozzy, always in summer that would wear like sweatpants for my socks. Even up until like pro, like you just feel so much better when you're just throwing like that Cooper all on or a pair of sweatpants versus like the actual hockey socks, and you got to put the garter belt on, or you got the Velcro pieces. Like, there's just something about wearing that one piece set that just sets everything up nice. The cup feels a little better. It's not moving all around. It just, that Cooper all fella. Oh, what I would pay to wear those. How good do you feel, especially if you got in the National League and you're going no bucket and you got that
Yeah.
fucking headband on? I mean, come on. That's as good as it gets.
Oh yeah.
So
100%. Throwing that up on Insta the next day.
oh yeah, yeah, that's a no filter type of pick. Couple likes, couple DMs, good you up. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But moving along to a last little bit I wanted to touch on. Man, this kid in Vancouver, Quinn Hughes, aka Huggy Bear, was recently named captain this past year by his head coach Rick Tocchet. Dude, this guy, I mean, we're a week out from Thanksgiving here, American Thanksgiving, but to me, he is the early runner for the Norris Trophy. This guy is what I like to call butter. And I don't say that a lot, but he is farm to table, drop it off at the park. How the hell are you? Type butter. He is snapping it out there, Ozzy. Flow state. I mean, this guy's all over the sheet. He's playing 26 to 28 minutes a night. He looks fantastic. He right now is playing better than Cale Makar in my eyes, and that's crazy to say.
Yeah, it's insane. He's and how about the fucking Vancouver Canucks, man? 11-3? Are you kidding me? Where are these guys? What is going on in Vancouver? Where is this coming from? We haven't seen this in so long since the Sedin twins were nasty. That was a while ago. I don't know. It's fun to see. Hopefully they can keep it up. Like obviously, there's always teams that start off hot, and I feel like the Canucks have been a team like that before. But yeah, I mean, Quinn Hughes, it is so nails. That guy's wearing the C in Vancouver too. This guy is so laid back. He's totally not your traditional old time captain. I don't think where he's kind of just the leader of the kind of barks at guys, and stuff. I think this guy's just so calm, cool, collected. He's a little bit like his brother Jack, maybe just a defensive version. Maybe a little older. I don't know, but yeah, it's fun watching these guys, and obviously I love the Canucks because Bess is out there, and I want that guy to do well. So it's just nuts. Like how many points I'm trying to look up right now. Like how many points does this fucking guy have right now? He's got he's got 23 points in 15 games. Quinn
That's what
Hughes. I
I'm
mean, it's
saying. I
just
mean,
it's insane.
it's insane. And a
It's
quick
plus
shout out.
18.
Yes, and I think it has to do with a lot of the staff that Rick Tocchet brought in. And there's actually one guy in particular who I used to work with because he used to be like an advisor or basically a branch off my old agency back in the day. And that's Adam Foote. And he's in Vancouver now, and he's a guy that's won a couple mugs. I think he's really had a big impact on Quinn Hughes's game. This guy, I mean, he's an all timer, Ozzy. I just wanted to share this story where we used to fly into Denver, and that's where Footer was living, and my old agent was based out of. And we'd run like these D camps every summer. It would be like mid July, and Footer was a guy that we work with, do video work with during the year. You call him after a game, kind of break it down, and you do these different, kind of just like one-on-one sessions with Footer over the phone, where he could really give you a lot of veteran tips and just little things that you could implement into your game, and especially young defensemen of just things that are like very basic in terms of always recovering to the middle. When you make a pass, always take 3 steps in to get inside the dots. He was always had these little tricks of the trade, and we would do these defensive camps in Denver in the summers, and we would go out and skate, and then we go golf, and then we come back and skate. So it'd be like 2 a days for like 4 days straight. But Footer would always have me on his bag for whatever reason. So it'd be me and Footer in the cart. And Ozzy, this guy was so old school and so beauty. So we'd skate in the morning, then we work out, and then we go golf. But Footer's rule is when you're golfing, if you're on his cart, which I was more often than not, you'd have to have at least 5 beers aside. So you do 5 beers aside, and then you go back and skate. So you're half cocked when you're on the ice. But it was so legendary how old school he was. He's like, I'm like, Footer, like, man, I don't want to drink again today. He's like, are you fucking kidding me? Have a few, and a few was, five or
Oh
six
yeah.
aside. And
Oh
you
yeah.
go back on
Oh
the
yeah.
ice and you'd be doing like, you'd be dialing it back in, like yelling at you if you miss a pass. It's like, Footer, like, I'm cut right now a little bit on the ice here,
Oh
buddy. Like,
yeah.
you're like,
100%.
what are we talking about? You just made me drink on your cart. Now you're motherfucking me because I missed a pass on my backhand. Like, just chill out. So I wanted to give a shout out to Footer because just the positional work he can do, the little veteran tips. He's a guy that won, obviously played with legends like Ray Bork, Sakic, Forsberg, all these guys. But over the years, he's a guy that really understands the game. And I think he's helping these young defensemen just take their game to the next level because he has so much knowledge. And I think he's a guy that could be a head coach in the National Hockey League one day. So Adam Foote, I know he's probably not listening, but what a nail gun. what a beauty. And to me, he's just, he's really getting that Quinn Hughes to the next level, and it's cool to see. So, boys, that is
Yeah.
our hockey talk of the episode number 11, the People's episode, mind you. Let's get into week 10 in the NFL. Let's get into Celly of the week before we go over our picks. Azo, I want to throw it to you first. What did you have for the Celly of the week, brother man?
Yeah, I had CJ Stroud hitting the Ohio. He's an Ohio State Buckeye alum. He's back in Ohio in Cincinnati playing the Bengals. Scores a touchdown, hits the Ohio to the crowd, and the crowd loves it. Like they love it, and nails. The guy's nails. He's leading the league in passing yards. Um, I think passing touchdowns too. I mean, this guy is just incredible right now. So unbelievable stuff by him. I love that. You got the hometown team basically cheering for you after a touchdown. It's pretty nails.
That was nails, and he just seems like he's the guy. He's that dude. Whoever drafted him or whoever told the GM to draft him in that war room, I mean, that guy's got to be tugging himself off to this game film every week because he is. I mean, he's that dude. He's that guy that you can build a franchise around. He's got that swagger. I mean, that game-winning rush. He led the boys down, and they ultimately win on a field goal. I mean, against a very good Cincinnati team. I mean, that's a big-time win, bro. And that's a guy
Yeah.
I think that's going to be around for years to come. I think there's light at the end of the tunnel in Houston, which has turned around rather quickly. It's crazy how one guy can kind of turn that thing around. But
We were just
Mace,
chirping them not too long ago. I
I
mean,
know
we were
we
just
were saying
shredding the Houston. I was like, these guys fucking suck.
these guys fucking suck. These guys are horrible. Next thing
These
you
are
know, they're like
fucking
500.
losers. And then they're like 500. And they're like, holy shit.
Holy shit,
Kind
now
of
they're
good.
pretty good. Now we're sucking them
Yeah.
off. It's like, oh my god, it just goes to show what we know. We know fuck all over here, but we got to act like we do.
Oh, yeah.
Mace, I wanted to ask you, bro, what'd you have for your Celly of the week, fella?
Yeah, I had a couple guys from Missouri State college football team. One of them scored in the end zone, and then his buddy came up. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen this dance before. It's called like the Juby slide, but they hit
No.
it like in sync, and basically you're like jumping to the side, but it looks like you're walking. I don't know.
Oh, it's that slide.
synced
It's
up.
that they hit that after a touchdown.
Yeah,
Th-
like in
That
sync.
is
These two of
nails.
them. Yeah, and they weren't. It was crazy, but yeah, that's my Celly of the week. Another honorable
Mace, what
mention. My
school is
man
that?
Gutella.
Missouri?
Yeah, that was
Missouri
Mizzou, I
State.
think.
Yeah.
Missouri State, all in. I'm
Mhm.
gonna have to look at that. Yeah, my Celly of the week, boys. I had Kenneth Walker the third, aka K9, for the Seattle Seahawks. He had a 65-yard score, and I love when guys they're going a million miles an hour, and especially like getting closer to that pylon and getting to like the corner of the end zone. Like he did a somersault at like maybe 20 miles an hour. Like it was insane. I just love the old somersault. You kind of slow down, you barrel roll it. I mean, that's just a classic Celly. And then my other one that I just think is the funniest thing ever is I actually want these guys to just win out strictly for this is these Raiders. These Raiders. I mean, these guys, Sunday night win against the Jets, whatever game, 16-12. It kind of ends in a last second play with a bat
Yep.
down in the end zone, big time Celly. But you could tell these guys just couldn't wait to get to the locker room because they knew what they had waiting for them.
Oh,
They had
yeah.
a box of
Oh, yeah.
Cubans, probably spliffs rolled up with a little doobie in it, a little Mary Jane, a little half and half mix, the old fucking
Yeah, because
spliff.
these guys can smoke now, can't they?
Yeah, they can smoke. So those things were rolled up with a little chotch in them, and they go back to the locker room and they're just blowing O's with cigars in the locker room. It's like again, they're winning. They're celebrating like they won a championship after all these games. It's hilarious, man. I love it. Keep winning, boys. I mean, it just goes to
Yeah.
show you how much they hated that coach and McDaniels, and now they're playing for Antonio Pierce, and they got a little steam with them, and they can't wait just to blow down after the game because I mean, even the Sunday night crew just cut right to the locker room. These guys are walking in the towels. They got the fucking future rap music going on, and they're rocking out.
Oh yeah, this is the People's episode. They're the People's team.
They are the people's
Oh,
team. I
yeah.
might have to get a Raiders jersey, bro. Might have to get like who's their biggest nail gun on that team, you think? Like if I'm getting a Raiders jersey, obviously I could go old school with Money Lynch or someone, or an old Moss, but like
Yeah,
who's
yeah.
their most nails guy?
Like ever? Are you talking?
No, I'm just thinking on their team now. Like who are their
Yeah,
who's
I
their
mean,
gun?
like it's tough not to go with like Max Crosby. I mean, that guy is fucking scary as fuck. That guy's the definition of nails. I mean, then you got like Devonte Adams. Let's be real, Devonte Adams is nails too. That guy is so sick.
Yeah, he is like you just
Josh
wish he had a guy.
Jacobs.
I was gonna say Josh Jacobs. He kind of seems like he's the heart and soul of that team, dude. I mean, their
Yeah,
coach though.
he's
Like,
been
I
there.
hope they, I hope they take the interim tag off this Antonio Pierce because fuck, I might have to get it. If a coach had a jersey, I might have to get his jersey because he's a nail gun. He
Their whole
looks, he
team
looks
loves him too. Like,
yes. They're like shaking him up after, like it's just, he's blowing down with the boys after too, getting the shower or whatever. But anyways, let's move along to our picks. Swishy over here, 93-1. Tough one on the chin. We just talked about it. Cincy, I believe at the time we took the bets, they were a -7 or minus even 7.5 favorite against CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans. I think the final line you could have got them at was -6. Ended up losing 30-27. Strouder, 23 for 39, one titter, one int. Joey Burrow, 27 for 40. That's good for 347, but he had two picks to go along with his two TDs. So we'll see how Cincy responds. Um, Ozzy, let's go to your picks. You had the Vikes and I believe the Jags. So you were boots on the ground, though. We touched on that a little bit. It's good to see them win, eh? Like, especially, I saw a little game film out of you. You were getting the old fucking pumpernickel going a little bit, yelling. You had a couple Chardonnays, and yeah, it's good to see, eh? It's good to see Dobbsy. You know, like this Dobbs guy is. I mean, he's on fucking cloud nine right now.
Yeah, unbelievable stuff by Dobbs. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's it's not true. Like this guy's played in the league before. He's never been like this. So like, okay, like let's. It's not. This isn't true. But he's playing. He's played two back-to-back really good games, and he's won some football games, and it's exciting to see. I mean, his first half, like that first half at that game, I mean, everything went right. I think they scored a touchdown on three of the drives and a field goal on the other one. Um, it was just, and he was making unbelievable plays. His running touchdown was all time. His passing touchdown to Hawkinson is unbelievable. Apparently this guy is passing balls to Hawkinson all summer long or something. And now these guys are just connecting. And then I was noticing that, like, there were a couple times I'm watching the play and Addison's wide open on his route, and I'm like, holy fuck, hit Addison. And Dobbsy's only watching Hawkinson. And usually Hawkinson gets open so he could hit him. But like, I don't know. Is that a reason why Minnesota goes out and gets Dobbs? Because they're like, fuck, this guy played catch with Hawkinson all summer long. Like, does this matter? I don't know. But
Yeah,
yeah, it was
yeah.
it was it was unbelievable to see.
You never know. I mean, that could have something to do with it. That's like kind of like guys that have played with each other in hockey in the past, or even skate in the summers. That all goes into it. I mean, I'm sure if they're asking hockey, what's Dobbs
Yeah.
like? You're like, yeah, let's go get him. I mean, sure, he's a point of reference. He's going to say positive remarks about. So, yeah, that was cool. Jaguars obviously don't get the job done for you, Ozzo. You move to 1-1. Mace Daddy with a push. Talk about that game a little bit because that was a fun one to watch.
Yeah, it was a fun one to watch. I thought, I mean, it was classic Chargers, but that was a good Lions team. I thought the Chargers offense was okay. It was good to see Quentin Johnson get his first touchdown of the year. But I gotta say, Dicker the kicker, that man is dialed. That man can kick the fucking ball. I love
Dickie the
watching him
Oh,
kick.
kick.
yeah.
I throw money on him like every Sunday now, just for
Yeah, he's got a
points and
steel
shit.
boot,
He's
fella. Yeah, there's some lead in that pencil.
oh
He's
yeah,
got the clutch gene for sure. And it's crazy you say that, Macy. You just mentioned the kicker. Like 5 of these games, they end up going or ending in a last second field goal, a drive down the field to win the game. And then even last night could have got it done as well. So 5 of 6. I mean, that's kind of crazy. I wonder when the last time that's happened with that many game winning field goals in the last dying seconds or last seconds under a minute to go. That was a pretty crazy thing to watch. It felt like every game on Sunday was ending with a last second drive and a kick. But yeah, that was wild to see. But just a couple more stats through the NFL in Week 10 here. Somehow the Steelers, Mike Tomlin, I'll tell you, I've never had a losing season. Tomlin moves to 6-3. Dan Campbell
How?
stays hot with his Lions.
How?
I know, it's just crazy because they wear
Steelers
black Air
6 and
Force
3.
Ones, dude. That's why. That's
Yeah,
why. Like
it's unbelievable.
they're showing up to
Like
war, baby. They got the
they're
fucking black
terrible.
ones on. Oh, they're
Yeah.
terrible. They're awful. But Mike is not going to let them have a losing season. He loves that
No.
stat about himself so much that they will never have a losing season.
Oh, yeah.
When he does, he's immediately fired. So
I would
that's a
love it
hilarious
too.
stat. Bills, the Buffalo Bills, man, that's a weird team. They're 5-5. I believe in Mace even touched on it earlier before we got on here. He thinks that they're going to end with a losing season in terms of their record. I agree with that. I think that's a good take from you, fella. So I like that. And I am hearing reports around the league that William Belichick, this will be his final year in New England with the Patriots. I believe he's out, boys. I think he actually might even have another team lined up where he might be the general manager and the coach. Now that destination has not been named, but it sounds like Bill Belichick is out. And you got to love that video just of him, if it was him, surfacing around the internet this past week of him walking out of what looked like a beach house and a one-night stand. I mean, piping it, boys. Billy's still got it, whether he's got the Viagra in the system or not. He's going to find himself a new home. He's going to be all right. He's single, so good on William. Looks like he's doing
Yeah.
okay. But it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. I can't really predict or put a,
Would you want him
thumb.
taking the reins of the Packers? Like, would you want that?
That's so hard. I mean, you just stumped the Schwab there.
I know.
I think in the short term, yes, it's like bringing in John
Yeah.
Tortorella or a drill sergeant to just get the ship turned around. But is he a
Because I think for the
long-term
Vikings,
fix?
it doesn't make sense. But like,
No,
it's tough to turn down the best coach of all time because he
right.
is.
I know, and that's like even bringing in like a guy when he used to coach, like Ken Hitchcock, like bringing a guy that's so detailed, X's and O's wise, Hall of Famer, who's won. Man, I don't know. Part of me wants him there just to turn it around and put some systems in place and really, dial in some things of a culture. But at the same time, it's like, fuck. Do you really want that
Yeah.
guy? I don't know. That's
Yeah.
a tough one, Ozzy. I
It's
think it's a
tough.
short term. That's a short term fix for sure. Like I'd want him for a couple of years if I had him, right? Like nothing,
Yeah.
nothing longer than that. So, boys, moving on to our Week 11 picks or locks. We're not perfect over here at Live and Five, but we stay with it. We try to make the people money. So, Ozzy, I wanted to start with you. I know it's Tuesday. I know it's an early outlook. It feels like the Monday night game just ended, but if you had a lock of the week, if you're looking at the big board of Week 11, what are you seeing? What's standing out to you, brother?
Yeah. I am going to ride my Vikes because they are 2.5-point dogs to the Denver Broncos. So I'm going to ride Dobbsy and take the Vikes at plus 2.5. And then I'm going to have to do this one. I'm going to have to take the Bengals at plus 3.5 against the Baltimore Ravens. Thursday night football. Joey Burrow's not going to let that happen again. He just lost a game. I don't think he's going to let it happen again. He's coming back. They're going to win this one.
I love that. Mace, do you have your lock?
All right, so I'm going to go with kind of a switch up on the picks here. We haven't done one of these yet this year, but I'm going to take the over in the Titans-Jags game at 40.5. I mean, I think that's going to be a shootout. Trevor Lawrence versus Will Levis. I mean, I think people are starting to get a good sample size on Will Levis so they can start kind of learning his weaknesses and stuff, but I still think it's going to be a shootout. I'm excited for that game. I'm not a huge Will Levis guy, but I still think it's going to be a fun game to watch.
I think that guy's funny. I mean, he eats fucking mayo and shit. Like, he does some weird things. Like, he goes to the draft, thinks he's going first round, doesn't get drafted. He's got to go home. He's got a booth with everyone there and doesn't get drafted the first day. It's hilarious. Yeah, I like seeing this guy. Yeah, that's
Willie Lev
hilarious.
fella. Boys, my week 11 lock, I got the Kelsey Bowl. I'm taking KC money line against the Philadelphia Eagles. Don't know what the spread is yet. I don't know what the final spread on that. I believe it was -3, maybe KC, but I'm going money line. I don't want the points. I don't trust the
Yep.
points. I don't know if they can get it done. I think it's gonna be a really close game. I think that's a 1 or 2 point score. We got the rematch, obviously, of last year's Super Bowl. So the Kelsey brothers, Travis Kelsey flying high, freshly back from bye week. He was down in South America getting sucked off by Swifty. So legs will be light. He's flushed out. I think that one, he'll be high stepping. Petty Mahomes boy, he'll be geared up for that one. I think he's just a guy that elevates his game the bigger the stage. So I am taking KC money line. I don't even know what the points are. I believe it's -3 KC, but I don't trust that. I think it's going to be a 1 or 2 point game. And yeah, we'll see if the Chiefs can get that done. So we'll see, boys. Those are our picks. We'll get those out to the people. Moving on to the nail gun of the week. I'm going to lead us off here. I have Nikita Zadorov from the Calgary Flames. I think this guy is hilarious. Earlier in the year, he called out the team. He was saying a bunch of different things about how the team is struggling. Now it's not the coach's fault. We got rid of the coach that all the boys hated and Daryl Sutter. And now it's really it's time to get this team going. Let's get over the hump. And he's, calling out the team publicly, basically calling out their
Mm.
best players like Huberdeau and Kadri, Lindholm, some of these guys, speaking his mind, really, voicing his opinion. And now we're to the point of 12 to 15 games into the season, and he has publicly asked for a trade. He has his agent, super agent from Gold Star Hockey, Dan Milstein, a Russian guy, tweeting about how he needs to get out of there. Teams like Toronto would be a great fit, this and that. And I just think it's hilarious because number one, this guy clearly doesn't give a fuck. He's Russian, so he's
Oh
got that
yeah.
going for him. He's got that aspect of kind of just a free gunslinger in terms of he doesn't give a fuck about anything. But I just think it's so funny. Like, yeah, this guy's a pretty good defenseman. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, buddy, on a cup contender, let's call a David Spade a David Spade. Like, you're a glorified 5'6" D man, and you think you're like the most nails guy, like the biggest, hottest
Yeah.
commodity ever. It's like, buddy, like you're a good player. Like, you're not like a perennial cornerstone piece of any franchise, and you're just
He could
publicly
he
coming
could
out
be a
and like,
fourth. He could be a fourth, I mean,
yeah,
he
maybe
could
like a
play that
four
role
B.
like yeah,
I just think
yeah.
on
He's
a
huge. He's
he's
huge and he
huge.
can kill guys.
And I think he's a really good number 5 on a team that wins a cup. I think on a non-playoff team, yeah, maybe a team that goes 1 or 2 rounds, he could play a 4. But I think
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
perfect role for him, he's a 5. And it's just funny to me, like, yeah, he's got a good chin, throws both ways, big Russian dummy. He's scary to play against, throws his body around. I think he's a physical specimen out there. He's 6'6", covers a lot of range with his stick. He can skate okay. But I think it's just so funny that Big Z is just coming out, wants a trade request, doesn't give a fuck. Get me out of here. My agent tweeted out, tell the press, I'm out. And it'll be really interesting to see where he ends up because I think a team like Toronto could really use a guy like that. We touched on that last week in terms of, they're pretty vanilla back there. And last year in July, they went out and got guys like Klinberg instead of maybe a Radko Guda. So this is maybe a guy that they could go get. They obviously have some familiarity with Brad Trivling being the ex general manager in Calgary, now with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So it's just funny to me that this guy he's a nail gun. He doesn't care. He's going to dictate where he goes and fuck everybody else.
Yeah. It is. And that's Russian attitude, and I think sometimes it works out for guys, especially a guy like him who's scary. Like he can scare the shit out of the guys. Like he probably scares the shit out of the general manager in Calgary. So I don't know. Like it works for those Russians can kind of just do whatever they want. I mean, most of the time because they know like, oh, whatever. What are you gonna boot me back to Russia? Like I love Russia, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think he's just controlling his own destiny. He's got his agent, not afraid to say what he wants to say. So I love agents that just go out there publicly. And I don't know if it ultimately like hurts Calgary or helps them to try to move this guy because now everyone knows he's on the block. So can teams kind of swindle him down and maybe get him for less than his market value? We'll see. But Ozzy, what'd you have for your nail gun of the week?
Yeah, I had Jeremy Swayman goaltender for the Boston Bruins. He got in a little scuffle with I think Brendan Gallagher on the Montreal Canadiens, and Swayman I think just held his ground. You know, like he's getting chirped and he's just standing like a robot, like staring these guys in the face. And if you watch the video, it's pretty cool because like all these other guys are taking penalties, and he's done this before to Montreal too. It's kind of like a storybook right now. So I had to shout him out for the nail gun of the week because what he did was kind of nails out of a goalie. Usually goalies kind of stay out of it, and that's why I enjoy Binner's game so much, is because he plays hard and competitive, and gets in the mix a little bit, and that's kind of what Swayman was doing here. So I respected that.
Love that. Love a goalie mixing it up, as you know. Hextall, the Snowman, that. So, Swayman, keep chucking and ducking, fella. Protect your cage. That blue paint, that's yours, buddy. So, Mace, what'd you have for your nail gun of the week, bro?
All right. So this came out the day after we recorded. So this happened before this week's NFL games. So Young Ho Koo, the kicker for the Atlanta Falcons, has outscored 8 NFL quarterbacks this season and is currently tied with 2. So he's currently ahead of 10 people right now. Danny Jones, Ryan Tannehill, Zach Wilson, Kenny Pickett, Garoppolo, Bryce Young, Geno Smith, Desmond Ritter, tied with Carr and Mac Jones. As a kicker, I mean, I just think that's so
Yeah,
funny.
That is funny.
the guy's been having an historical season for a kicker. That guy's nails right now.
It's got a nice
So
boot.
ice,
Mhm.
so ice to just be a nails kicker. Like I remember hearing stories about that Prater, Matt Prater, out of he used to play for the Lions for the longest time. I used to hear stories of him, like he used to go to this like hole in the wall bar and just crush beers like every day of the week, and just go to the fucking field and just kick balls all day. Like just ice in his veins, just never missed. Like didn't care people were there watching. Pressure never got to him. It's sick. Like some of those guys, how they think. It's like that Joey Chestnut mindset. Like like I'm sitting here like thinking about Joey Chestnut, and it's kind of like it's not that cool, but then it also is cool. Like the guy can bury so many fucking hot dogs.
Oh, yeah. I mean, kicker wise, dude, I just go back to Al Davis drafting Sebastian Janikowski in the first round as a kicker. Like he probably could have got him on the fourth or fifth, but Al Davis just knew that was his kicker. And he ultimately ended up staying there for like 15 odd years. The guy was in the league
Yeah,
for 20 years. He had a barrel on him, but what a lead boot he had. He could make a 60-yarder lefty. Kickers are always have their own personalities, man, and that's the funniest thing about that position because you just know they're just so far off their screws and so far off, into their own world and on their own page. Like I remember my dad even just when he played at North Dakota, like these guys would be out in the middle of winter practicing at the old Memorial Stadium at North Dakota and be negative 40 out, and the kickers would just be, they'd be under the stadium, they'd be have the heat warmers on them crushing hot dogs. It's like these guys just did whatever the fuck they
yeah,
wanted.
yeah.
It's just that kicker that you don't really need them until you do, and if they miss that big kick, well then it's the whole game's their fault. So Mace, I like that one. Boys, couple other things before we get to our we open up the phone lines to the man of the people, like I said earlier, that segment that I think is gonna be pretty cool. Just taking some questions from our loyal listeners. A couple things I wanted to touch on. Hank Lundqvist goes into the Hall of Fame along with Ken Hitchcock, I believe Pierre Turgeon, and a couple other Sakic as well. So good to see that. Spicy Tuna O'Brien, I love him going full Hanson brothers on Sammy Blais on the St. Louis Blues. I don't know if you guys caught that, but he got like rubbed off on the wall and just went like auto shed, chased him around the neutral zone. Then he just like finally got him to fight him, but didn't really, and then just like jumped on top of him. So Spicy Tuna, I know he was probably my nail gun of the week last week. That's Liam O'Brien. Way to go, full Green Street hooligans there, brother. Love to see that. Boys, let's send it over to our questions. Mace, let's open up the lines. Let's see what we got, and let's take some questions from the good people of Live and Five and all of our loyal listeners. So, folks, the man of the people segment here. I think we want to implement this maybe at least once a week. Not
Yeah.
once a week, but once a month, maybe. I think it's cool. I think it's good to hear from the people. So, we're going to have Jack Mason, our producer, a.k.a. Jackie Furta fire away at Ozzo or I, and yeah, we'll see what we got, baby.
All right. This first one's from Neil Nagel. He's asking you guys, need to know what area hurts the most when blocking a shot.
Hmm. Holy shit, my dog just walked in. But um I would say, I don't know, what would you say, Jordan? I would say like fingers sucks. Top of the kneecap is a tough one. Above the old shin pad, that one always sucks.
Yeah, I would
Um
say I would probably say top of the toe, right where the toe cap is. There's not a whole lot of protection there. That one fucking stings, especially if it's like a 1T. Ankle, yeah, that's not perfect either. Even like just like on the inner groin, if you kind of lay out and you do like a little L slide and you kind of expose that inner thigh, that always fucking hurt. You're just praying you don't
oh,
get hit in the moose knuckles there. But yeah, I would say probably for me, man, especially us both being defensemen, fella, I'm gonna go with that top of that toe because I mean, my
oh.
big toe on both sides is still fucked up from blocking shots. It's literally purple for the rest. It'll be purple.
You got a deedsy foot?
Oh yeah, I got DZ on both sides, and I thought it was just like a nail problem. And every
Yeah.
time my nail grows out, it's still black and blue. So I don't know, bro. I think I just got I'm scarred for life from. I don't even know if like intentionally blocking shots. Right? I mean, I played on the penalty kill, but I was just praying that thing didn't hit me.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was always intentionally blocking shots because that's kind of what I could bring to the game. But yeah, I mean, I always wore those like skate protectors, and I mean, most of my body was pretty covered, and I was pretty smart about blocking shots. I mean, obviously, off the face is the worst place to take one if you are to take one up there. But yeah, I mean, I always just hated my fingers because I'd always block them with my hands, and then like it's so hard to grip my stick after, and you got to grip your stick the whole game to make plays and stuff. So those ones kind of bothered me the most. I could always battle through like a knee or like a foot because I wouldn't have to like use it to, I could just power through it. I mean, it's painful, but that's kind of what you sign up for when you're playing hockey, especially when guys are fucking ripping the puck 100 miles an hour out there.
100%. Mace, let's send it to. That was a good question. Neil Nagel, I believe that was. So, fella, thank you for your input and your question. Mace, what do we got next, baby?
All right. Next question is coming from Sean McHale. He's asking Gage, do you have a ghost ball? They always talk about ghost limbs, but do you ever feel like you just got another one down there still?
Yeah, sometimes I actually do forget that they're not both down there, and I'll go to, when I'm sitting on the couch or anything, if it itches, I'll go down there to grab, and there'll only be one there. So you kind of do forget that it's kind of like my back tattoo. I always forget I have one there. I can never see it, but I do have one. So it's kind of like the same thing. Good question though. Yeah.
Johnny One Nut.
All right. Next question comes from Sam Witwicky. He asks, whatever happened to Danny Cristo?
Danny Darcy Cristo. He is playing in the Fish and Chips League, as I like to call it, over in England. That is the English League. Yeah, he's been overseas for 6, 7 years now, kind of bouncing around, playing in, I would say, a different league every year, making a solid career for himself over in Europe. But yes, he was one time a big NHL prospect. He just never really got a shot in terms of playing over here. He was a very offensive guy, came through the New York Rangers system, kind of found himself in the American League, went over to Russia, bounced around from Sweden. I think, at this point, Ozzy, he's a golf trip buddy, but I think he's played in, almost every league over there. He's and that's not a bad thing. He's bounced
No,
around a bit, and he's
the
33 years
guy,
old, still playing, and not
yeah,
many guys can say that.
he's the ultimate, he loves the boys, and he's the ultimate dude and teammate, and he just loves the game. I think he's always loved the game. Like he's always been a hockey player through and through, and that's like what his identity is. And it's not a surprise he's still playing because that's kind of his identity. He's being a hockey player, and that's what he's been his whole life. And that's what DK for is he's the kid, and he's still a goddamn legend. When he was at UND, obviously he was like the biggest legend, one of the biggest legends ever come through there, in terms of when he was at school. So,
Yep,
Yeah,
had to
you
get
know.
airlifted to get that foot fixed. Mr. Deeds, they used to call him in pro hockey. Played with him actually in Chicago. The boys would always call him Deedsy. So, yeah, for the folks that don't know that story, just go look it up. DK walking across Ray Richards with no shoes on. I think he almost got the notch done too. So he was close, but ultimately had to get airlifted. But shout out to Darce. I'm sure he's listening. He's a beauty. So, Mace, what do we got next, baby?
All right. Next question coming from another listener, Doug Iverson. Inside the glass, is it easy to hear the ref and your teammates communicating? This is a two-part question.
Inside the
Yeah,
glass?
I think he's
Yeah,
talking
like
about
when
like
you're
the
playing
players.
on the ice.
Because like when
Yeah.
you're a fan watching, I think it's you can't really hear that much because you have the glass there. But yeah, when you're on the sheet, you can pretty much hear everything. I don't think you can really hear the coach yelling. Like if the coach is yelling at you, like sometimes you can kind of get what he's muffling out, but most of the time, I don't think it travels that far. But yeah, you can definitely hear the guys calling for the puck and the refs telling you what to do.
Oh yeah, for sure. D
Okay.
to D. Hey fella, reverse. Hey,
Yeah.
slide it over here for sure. Yeah, you're
How
barking.
nice is it playing with a D partner who communicates well?
Oh,
Like
it's
it
the
makes it
best.
so much easier, man. You'll play with guys who are, aren't the greatest at communicating, and they might have skill or they're good, but it's like tough to play with them a little bit. And then other guys, they might not have much skill or they're not really in the right place at the right times, but they're communicating so well. They're like telling you what to do with the puck sometimes, and it's like the right play, and it just makes you look that much better. So it's great playing with guys like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Be barking at me all the time. I want to. You're gonna have to be my eyes in a lot of situations. So yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, you can pretty much hear everything. You can hear the refs. You can chirp the refs, coaches. I mean, if even sometimes if they're yelling across the sheet, you can generally hear it, especially in the neutral zone. So White Iverson, Doug Iverson, I believe he's a good Grand Forks local GFCC. Good question, fella.
And then when you're in play, during play, in a packed barn like the Ralph, can you hear the crowd noise or are you too focused in on the play to actually hear it?
Oh yeah, I mean
You
that
can
is
hear
what
the
gets your
crowd
blood
noise.
boiling. That's why you play.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's everything for sure. That I think that's why
You
you have that home ice advantage. Your
you
fan,
don't
your
yeah,
barn.
like you
Yeah.
don't think those games at the Ralph when it's sold out aren't a little different intensity than those games you play at a barn where it's like 25% filled and you're just playing, it almost feels like a tryout. Like that's a different game,
Yeah, I mean you
just
could
from the fans.
even when they were doing like those games, I played like the COVID games when there was nobody there, where you're playing at a practice ring versus
Yeah.
playing in front of 10,000 people. I mean, yeah, dude, it's way different. It changes the whole complexity of the game. I think a lot of guys during COVID, they were honestly better players or didn't feel that heat. They couldn't play with the
Yeah.
lights on, but when there was nobody in the
100%.
stands, they felt they could maybe do something because nobody was watching. For sure, you feel that heat, 100%.
All right. Next question comes from, I'm going to butcher this because I don't speak Spanish, El Frio Blanco. And the question is, what was the funniest chirp you ever heard directed at you or at a teammate?
Oh,
Funniest chirp. I'm trying to
I should
think.
have looked more into this one.
I'm trying to think of a funny chirp of like at a teammate that you could say on here,
I
or
know, I know.
like
I've
that's
got a few that like
that's
I
like
don't want
too
to say
far.
on
It's
here.
not
Yeah,
too far offside. Like I'm pretty offside as a person as is, but I'm trying to think of like
yeah, yeah.
really good chirps of you know. I don't know. I mean,
There's like most of those favorite trips, like those are like very offside, and you're like, oh fuck. Uh,
yeah. I mean, the ones that are offside are like that I can think of. Ozzy was like if a guy like was dating a girl and
yeah, it's
the
usually
guy
about a chick or a wife, or I mean,
like those are like whoa, you're like sitting there like Jesus, yeah, like
ooh,
because he did bang her, but it's fuck, he's dating
ooh.
her now and now he's married. It's
Yeah,
like ooh, on the chin, it's like
yeah,
those
yeah.
ones are like
Ah,
you can't really repeat
those are the
those
most
ones.
Those are like usually when a guy gets chirped on the bench, from the ice, the whole bench is like, you fucking, chirp back. You start chirping the guy, you fucking suck, buddy.
Yeah,
But when it goes that far, sometimes it goes so far, the whole bench is like, oh, I didn't hear that. and it's
I
just
know.
silence, and it's like, fuck, that's awkward.
I mean, I like that the one chirp that from like the old HBO series of they used to do the 24/7, and I always thought that one was funny because I played with guys that had used it too after that happened. It was that Drew Miller, Ryan Miller's brother was playing for
Yeah.
Detroit, and he was chirping somebody. I forget who he was chirping, but he was like, go back to the fucking minors, you fucking plug. You go, and the kid looks at me, he's like, I've been in this. You played more years in the fucking minors than I did, buddy. He's like, yeah, whatever, fuck off. He's like, go dye your fucking hair. It's like shit like that is so funny.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I always
Go
love
dye your
that. Like
fucking hair.
yeah, I
Oh,
always
yeah.
loved those, and I always thought the ones that were so gutless were like the guys that are like they were like a perennial all star, like Drew Doughty or someone like that, and
Yeah.
he's like just given to a guy that's like, you'll be in the fucking jungle by tomorrow. It's like, yeah, you probably will. And like, what do you say to a
Yeah.
guy
So
that's won a
what,
couple of
buddy? Fuck
yeah,
you.
like what do you say to a guy that's won a couple of Norrises? It's like those
You
ones are
can't
all
say
the ones that
shit.
are yeah, like the ones that are just like that gutless were always just like, oh fuck, like it stung. I mean, there was obviously great chirps out there, and I think the ones with it would get the significant others involved, or I just thought like those were always offside. But something like go dye your fucking hair, like or a nice fucking salt and pepper. What are you like 32 years old? Jesus Christ, get the
Yeah.
just for men out there. I always thought that was funnier. The balding ones were funny for the young guys. It's like, don't you have a
Yeah.
fucking hair plug guy? You need Joe Buck's number? Come on, buddy.
We had a bigger guy on our team. I don't want to say his name in pro, and he fell down on top of the puck, and we're in like a scrum, and they blow the whistle or whatever, and he's like by the puck, and the guy's like, "Holy fuck, he's trying to eat the fucking puck, the fat fuck,"
Yeah, that one was
and
funny.
it's,
I was
it's
playing.
like, you're just like, oh god, that's
I was
funny. He is
I was
fat.
playing. That is hilarious. I was playing against it was Devonte Smith Pelly, and he was like a really good player for Washington back in their run, 2017-18. It was a really big like piece of their third or fourth line when they won the cup with the Capitals, when Ovi got his first mug. But he had kind of fallen off over the years, and I think he got maybe a little bit into partying again, or maybe just not watching his weight. He kind of fell off into the AHL, and it was during the COVID year and he just got signed by it was the Ontario Reign. They brought him in on an American League deal. I was playing for
Hmm.
Tucson, and man, this guy like he came in like mid-season of the COVID year, and it looked like he had put on maybe 60 pounds. Like it was crazy. From you went from like 205 to like 270. And
Yeah.
one of our guys on Tucson, it was a face off in the neutral zone, and Smith Pelly was lined up on the right wall playing closest to the bench. He goes, hey, Devo. And he looks back and he goes, did you fucking swallow an airbag or what? It's like, did you fucking swallow an airbag? I love that one. So I've always kept that one in my bag, because you just got the
Yeah.
Michelin man right around the barrel. Like, did you fucking swallow an airbag? I
Spare
love that.
tire.
Yeah. So, I
Yeah.
mean, there's great chirps out there. Obviously, we kind of got them rolling here, but that's a good question because the more I think about it, the more that kind
Yeah.
of comes to me.
Yeah, I used to love our junior one, when you're playing on NTDP and you're playing all these USHL, NAHL teams, and you're like, you're getting chirped by a guy or whatever, you're chirping back and forth, and all the boys would be like, yeah, which one of my fucking college scholarships you want, buddy? I'm
Yeah.
not going to
Yeah.
fucking take them all. Like, which one of these you want, buddy? I'll give you one. You
Yeah.
know, just
That is
so cocky.
That's so funny. And another just like classic, like little one liner I learned from a veteran, like, we go out to eat on the road, like Thursday nights or not even Thursday nights. That was more so college, but just like a night before a game, you get together and especially in the National League, you're sitting down at a nice meal, you're going to the best place, you're getting the red wine going. And usually one of the veterans is picking it up. But just a little subtle line, Ozzy, that I always liked hearing I'm not going to name the guy who used it, but he was a 1,000 gamer. He'd always be like, what kind of how much is this glass of wine? She'd be like, whatever. You'd be okay, yeah, $22 for that glass of wine. Like, how much is a Coke? And you'd be like, it's like $5. And you'd be like, well, how much is a refill? She's like, free. He's like, oh, okay, I'll have that. Like just like fucking with them. Just like little lines like that, like you pick up over the years of just like funny
Oh, yeah.
little shit
Okay, I'll have that.
is it's what makes the game fun, man. So that was
Yeah.
a good question, Mace. We could go on for hours with that. I'll even think of some more as you too, but those are a couple of chirps. What do we got next for our next question?
All right. This next question is coming from Brooks. This is a little bit longer one, but stay with me. Question for the pod. What are your thoughts on players in the NHL getting gangbanged after a clean hit? I understand that Jacob Truba is going to have to answer the bell when he throws a flying elbow at someone's dome, but when your boy Joel Eriksson Ek throws a nice shoulder to shoulder hit, should he really be getting jumped? I understand you want to stand up for your teammates, but come on, it's getting ridiculous.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it kind of has gone to that, hey, Jordo? Like,
yeah. I just think Ozzy, like, it just, whether it's fair or not, and whether it's warranted or not, if it's on one of your better players, and if you're a tight team, as you know, it's first nature, second nature as a human, and especially as a teammate, no matter if it was clean or dirty, to jump in and do something about it. Because if you don't do anything about it, well, then that kind of sends a message to your bench, your coach, your management. Well, these guys aren't that close. Why aren't you sticking up for him? So I think on any borderline hit, it just goes to show you how close your team is. How,
yeah,
basically just shows you what kind of team you are. Are you willing to stick up for your
right.
teammate whenever you see something happen, whether it was clean, dirty, whatever? I just think it shows that rally and that competitive spirit as a unit where I got to fucking do something about it. And I can't have time to react and process in my head if this was clean or not. I just got to do something about it. And I even saw it tonight before I hopped on with Boston and Brad Marchand. Darlene kind of hit him a little bit on the wall, and I don't think it was a dirty hit. He kind of just threw a little hip
Yeah.
check, almost like a cold shoulder on him, like a reverse hit, and it was along the wall over the blue line, and five of their guys are right in, or four of those Bruins are right in. McAvoy's in there, Pasta's in there, and
Hmm.
I don't think it was necessarily like a malicious hit, but fuck, man, that's Brad Marchand. That's your captain, Hall of Famer, getting hit like that, and he's on the ice. I'm going to do something about it. So I just think it's gotten to the point where you don't have time to think, and you better
Yeah.
err on the side of being a good teammate and sticking up for your boys because that's what you would want if you were in that position.
It's funny how it goes though in hockey, and it's true. And I mean, it's no hard feelings. This is just kind of known on the team, and it's it depends on who gets hit. And like you said, if it's one of your better players, you're getting pissed. You're like, hey, what the fuck is that? Um, but honestly, if it's like a fourth, third liner, he's taking that hit. I'm honestly pissed. I'm like, is this guy fucking serious? Like, I never liked when guys on my team would get fucking dummied. I never liked it because it's like makes you look bad, fires up the other team. And then honestly, especially in pro, there were guys who would get dummied every game, and you'd have to be like, "Fuck!" Now we all got to skate in and fucking start hacking each other. Like it's just it sucks. But if it's a good player and if it's one of your like best players, if they get hit, no matter what happens, you're going in there. But if it's like some third, fourth liner who's a big guy and he can handle himself and he gets hit, it's like we all don't need to jump in there. He'll probably take care of it later. But I mean, I think it matters. It's funny how that goes because it matters who it is too. Like, if it's a big guy getting hit, then you're all like, oh, like he's just gonna take care of it himself. But you know, if it's a smaller guy, smaller skill guy who you don't want getting in those fights, I mean, you got to jump in there because he can't do it. You don't want him to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good. I think we send it over to our next question here, Mace. What do we got, baby? Keep them flying here. Keep them
All right.
crispy.
All right. So next question's coming from Twitter. Um, the name of this guy got cut off in the screenshot, but it's a Grand Forks kid, plays for the University of Jamestown right now. Question is two-part question. Were the weeks of camps just unreal bender weeks for the camp counselors? And what was the worst thing one of the kids did at camp back in the day?
I'm gonna lead it off. It was never a bender, man. It was those weeks were a grind, and especially it would be 3 weeks in a row, and you would have to deal with these fucking rugrats all day long, and then you'd somehow have to mix in a workout at the given time, whether it was early in the morning, usually at about 6 in the morning, or if you wanted to wait till after all the camp, kids were gone. It was like 5 o'clock when you were dropping them off at Walsh Hall to end your day. So, and then you'd probably have to skate somewhere in between there with the boys, and usually that was at night. So if you rip a workout and a skate along with dragging these fuckers all around from Wilkerson, going to the cafeteria, pick them up at Walsh Hall where they were staying in the dorms, and then being in the rink with them on top of being on the ice 2 3 times a day. So I was always bagged after those days. There was no time to booze. Obviously, after the week, you would celebrate on Friday, Saturday, but yeah, man, those weeks were tough. They were fun, but the funniest thing I think always was, and it kind of dates back to maybe my first couple of years, and they've probably cleaned it up now, but because I think you have to have like the locker rooms open and there's all these different policies. But these kids would, it even dates back to my days going to the UND hockey camps. They would set up these locker boxing tournaments, and it all, so for the folks that don't know what a locker box, kind of shindig is it is what you think it is. You throw your helmet on, you have a pair of gloves on, and you get in this ring where you set up with your
It's
sticks
awesome.
in the locker room, and you battle for the title. It's, you duke it out, it's one on one, and you fight. So I would always end up being in the locker room where I'm stopping by, hey boys, we got 10 minutes and we're on the Olympic sheet, and they're still throwing down locker boxing, and I, as a camp counselor, probably at the time, I should have said something like, "Hey, we shouldn't be doing this," but fuck, that's how I grew up. You know what I mean? Ozzy, it was
Yeah.
old school rock'em sock'em, and nobody was getting hurt
Yeah.
because you were 10, 11 years old and you're throwing pillows. But
Yeah.
that was always one thing I think I always had to, really keen on. And then there would always be one shithead that would sneak into the girls' dorms and try to get a makeout kill and get kicked out of camp. And then I'd have to bring him in, and you have to talk to Dave Hackstall and in front of his parents and why they're kicking him out because little Joey snuck in and he tried to make out with, Stacy and, Kristen, and yeah, he got it done, but ultimately he's got to go home because he violated camp rules. You cannot go into Squires and try to finger blast a girl at age 12. Like, buddy, I know you're horny. I know you're getting wet dreams, but fuck off, man. You can't be doing that. Save that to when you go
This is the
back to craft.
university.
Yeah. I mean, how do you even know what to do down there? You're tickling the ones and twos like you played the keyboard before. How do you even know what that is? And just please save it for when you go back to West Fargo if that's what you want to do when you meet up at the swing set. So, Ozzy, I always thought that was funny when the kids would integrate with the girls or the locker boxing because those were always the biggest issues for me.
Yeah, 100%. You nailed it right on the head. The locker boxing was a funny thing. I mean, I remember locker boxing. It's funny, that was like kind of our first time being an older guy, having to tell kids like don't do something that I was doing at their age for sure.
Right.
Like I was in the locker boxing, and it's fun. I mean, it's stupid, but it's fun. But yeah, those were the biggest things. But yeah, it's funny how people, I know we talk like we were always on bender and we were drinking that, this much, and because we kind of were. I mean, we definitely did floor it, and we had our fun, but um we actually worked pretty hard too. I mean, we skated a lot in the summers. We worked out, we put in time outside of skates to do skills. You So there was a lot of time put in there, and yeah, those camps were bagger weeks. Like those days sucked ass. Like you'd
Yeah.
work out, like you said, you work out before. Sometimes you'd try to mix in a workout and like during lunch or something. Like it depended on what age group you were like counseling or coaching, because you could get the squirts, like the really young kids, or you could get the high school or the Bantams who are a little older. So um no, those were always like just bagger weeks, but you had to do it. You had to make some money. You had to, you just kind of had to do it. But that that Dave Haxtell bringing the kid in, just gonna talk to Dave
Oh man.
Haxtell. That was all
And
time.
it would always be in that training room on the women's side, and it happened to me like 2 or 3 times where I don't know how it always gets stuck with these shitheads, and I have to just be like, "Hack, well, we got to do it again." He's like, "Yeah, okay, Jordan. Parents are up at the Olympic. We'll bring them down, and we'll have to tell them why Neil has to go home to Stillwater because he got caught trying to make out with a girl." And I always thought those report cards were so funny filling out too. Like
Oh
parents would
yeah,
come up to me and legitimately like they would bitch at me, but I didn't want to sugarcoat it. How all the other kids, our buddies working the camp would be like, skating was excellent. Oh yeah, his hands are good. I'm like, this kid fucking he sucks, So yeah, I'm gonna put fair. Yeah, I'm gonna
yeah.
put okay. Like, yeah, no, he's not good. So would you want the truth or do you want me to pump your tires? And I remember even like Hack telling me he's like, you got to dial it back with the report cards a little bit. You're too honest. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. This is what you got to work on. You suck right now. You're
I
still gonna
remember
suck when
that.
you come back next year, but it is what it is, buddy.
Yeah, yeah. Those
So,
are that is so funny. To just fair, okay.
oh
Parents are
yeah,
like, "Are you fucking kidding me? My kid's
yeah.
unbelievable.
I thought Johnny actually was.
This
Yeah,
kid got an excellent from Britton Chiswick, and you're giving my
yeah.
kid an okay and a fair? Are you kidding me?"
you had 2 assists in the Saturday game. I'm like, I don't get, this isn't fucking Mystery Alaska. Who gives a shit about the Saturday game? I know, fuck you. This is what you are. You stink. You play for the Apple Valley C team. Okay, you suck. But okay, Mace. Let's send it over to the next question. Let's take a couple more here before I got to go eat. Let's
Yeah.
what do we got here?
All right. Next one is from Andre Ruda. Why is there no D1 hockey programs in Iowa? Tons of junior hockey in the state that thrive. Seem like a couple good programs that could be a good fit. Tons of talent out there to fill up the D1 roster, and college hockey is gaining popularity all the time.
Yeah, I just think not enough hockey's played there. I don't even think they play high school there. If you think about North Dakota, they play high school throughout the whole state, and there's only one college team in North Dakota. So, you just gotta it's gotta keep growing. I don't know. I don't really see. I think Illinois is coming first before Iowa. To be honest with you.
Because who the fuck wants to live in Iowa, dude? Like, I'm gonna be blunt with this. God damn it! I spent a year in Sioux City, Iowa. I had fucking snakes in my billet house coming across my feet. No, nobody wants to live in Iowa. Okay, if you live in Iowa for junior, that's fine. But where are you putting it? Where you going to the University of Iowa, the Hawkeyes? I guess. I guess maybe that's valid. But Jesus,
Des
man, I don't
Moines.
know. Like, is there any hockey there? It's fucking corn-fed cows and nose tackles. Like, let's be honest. Yes, they have junior hockey because that can sell, because you have the hillbillies that come in, you get dollar beer night at the Buck Bowl, you go in there, you hope for a fight, maybe one in the
They're
parking lot,
hoping for
you
a
text your
murder on the
ex-wife,
ice.
are you up? That's literally what it is. It's just hillbilly deluxe, and they're great fans. I think it works for junior hockey. The model is great. You get beers, you get fights, you get a cowbell or two, you get a back tattoo, and maybe an ankle bracelet, and it's a nice little night in Waterloo at Young Arena. But other than that, I mean, there's so many other college places I think I would like to see personally. And I know I'm being a little hard on Iowa, but hey, it is what it is. I think it's great for junior hockey. I just don't think the market for hockey in terms of college is that big. Maybe they could do it at the University of Iowa. Maybe I'm wrong, but they have American League there for the same kind of concept, but a better product in terms of junior with the Iowa Wild. So as
Hmm.
Ozzy would say, I would like to see a team like Illinois get a Division 1 program before Iowa. So yeah, maybe it'll happen one day, but for now, let's slow our roll, baby. Mace, what do we got, baby? Send it to the
All
next one.
right. We're going to our last question right now. This one we actually got from the Nightcap Pod. This comes from Shannon Sharp. How long do you cuddle with a skunk after notching?
Yeah,
After digging deep.
so basically what Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco have this podcast called Nightcap. It's hilarious for the people that haven't listened to it. I think Ocho is just all time, and Uncle Shay is Uncle Shay. And we were listening to this, the boys, the other night, and it came up for debate where, if you're a single guy, or maybe even have your significant other, you might be married, you might have a longtime girlfriend, maybe just have a girl on a professional tryout. But I think these guys were more so referring to, the one night stand type deal of, say you meet a girl, you have a nice little night with her, you take her back, you lay the ones and twos, and what's the acceptable time, after you get that, whatever, I guess, nut, or, you finish off with your sexual intercourse? What's the appropriate time to cuddle that bird, that girl? And, Uncle Shay Shay, Shannon Sharp was like, hey, baby, I'm 2, 3 minutes. Otherwise, my arms start falling asleep. I'm overheating. No, no, Ocho. I'm out after 2 to 3 minutes. You go on your separate sides, and I'm going to bed. And Ocho was so funny. He's like, come on, Unc. That's got to be at least 20 minutes. You got to make her feel good, make her feel worthy. Cuddle her, baby. I like a little friction, too. I got to feel her on me. Maybe we go again. So I wanted to leave it to the boys, like, what's an acceptable amount of time to get that cuddling? Because I think 2 or 3 minutes, man, that's just flat out mean. That's rude, baby. You gotta
Yeah,
do a little
yeah,
something for the effort, and also just, I mean, it's kind of nice to cuddle, even just not even after that, but
it
just in
is.
general, just in
Yeah,
terms of having a nice little lady that is willing to share her love with you and hug it out. And I've always been a guy that, not to get too deep into it, but I mean, at least 20 minutes before you roll over and go to bed. I mean, I can't sleep like a Yarmir Yager puck protection where you're just cuddling the whole night, because I do get that. Then it starts getting overheat. You know, you start
100%.
sweating. You know, you get that arm falling asleep. Like that's a no. But there's an appropriate amount of time before you roll over, you check your phone, and then you go to bed. But I just thought it was so funny. Unk was 2 to 3 minutes and he's out.
Yeah, I mean, if it's the one nighter, yeah. I mean, I kind of it depends on what time of night it is too. You know, if it's real late, you know, if you're right after dinner, 7:30, 8 p.m., if it's that time, the timing's a little different, I think. But um yeah, I mean, you do get too hot. It depends on when your arm falls asleep too. So I'm gonna go 10 minutes on average. I think 10 minutes is good before you kind of just and unless when I was younger too. I mean, maybe it's gonna happen again within 10 minutes. Like decent chance. Depends on what type of friction I got going down there. But
You could fire it right back up, you know. So
yeah.
you never know. Maybe you're just puck protection just for the chance. Maybe you ran a little short and you're like, fuck, I owe her one here, you know. Put my fight strap on and we'll go again. So that that's
Yeah.
good, boys. I think we can kind of end it there in terms of our questions. We got to a few now. I think we just need to keep this going. I think we do it once a month. I think the people's episode is something that's going to be pretty funny. We may or may not
Yeah.
have a guest going on here this week. We'll the people will know before we do because it'll be Thursday. So if not, I think that was a great snap, fellas. Tuesday night, all in on the chin. Episode number 11 over here at Live and 5. Azo, Jackie Furta, fellas. Stay clean, stay sexy. That was Live and 5, fellas.
California girls were unforgettable. Daisy Dukes, bikinis.